A cheap carb dietary could reduce lifetime expectation by up to 4 persons year, a research suggests. Cheap carb diets, such as Atkins, include be more famous for weight losing and include shown pledge for decrease the hazard of several illnesses. But a U.S. research above 25 year indicates how mild carbonate intake, or switch flesh for factory-based fiber and fats, is improve. The research relied on human beings remember the sum of carbohydrates they ate. Of the scientists alleged the ratio of amount of calories they got of carbohydrates, fats and fiber. Following next the team for an ordinary of 25 year, researchers found how such who got 50 to 55% of their power of carbohydrates, this mild carbonate team and in link in UK diet guidance, had a lightly reduced hazard of die compared in the low and top carb groups. Carbohydrates involve vegetable culture, harvest, and blood sugar, but the major resource of them is starchy foods, such as potatoes, loaf, rice, paste, and cereal grains. Researchers alleged how, of the age of 50, human beings in the mild carbonate team were on ordinary anticipated to dwell for else 33 year. The received information were such to early teaching the authors compared their job in, that turned on more than rather than 400,000 human beings of more than rather than 20 countries. The scientists later compared cheap carb diets wealthy in pet protein food and fats in such how concluded lot of factory-based fiber and body fat. They found how consuming more than bovine, lamb meat, pig, chick and cottage cheese in location of carbs was related in a lightly enlarged hazard of die. But substitute carbohydrates in more than factory-based protein food and fats, such as legumes and crazy, was in fact found to lightly bring the hazard of mortality rate. Dr. Sarah Seidelman, clinic and study comrade in vascular medical of Brigham and Females Clinic in Boston, who led the study, told, cheap carb diets how substitute carbohydrates in fiber or fat are getting common popular as a public health and weight loss policy, yet, our information suggests how pet-based low hydrocarbon diets, that are prevailing in polar America and Europe, might be related in shortened common lifetime interval and should be confused. Instead of, if one chooses to pursue a low hydrocarbon dietary, later swapping carbohydrates for more than factory-based fats and protein food might in fact contribute wholesome aging in the length period. The authors gamble how West-type diets how limit carbohydrates frequently outcome in reduced consumption of vegetable culture, harvest and harpoon and conduct to more intake of pet protein food and fats, that include been related to inflammatory and aging in the flesh. Professor Nita Forohi, of the MRC Epidemiology block at College of Cambridge, who was not implicated in the research, told, a very essential communication of the research is how it is not quite to attention on the nutritional, but if they are obtained of pet or factory source while hydrocarbon consumption is diminished in the dietary, down there are benefits while the is replaced in factory origin fat and fiber meal source, but not while replaced in pet origin source such as meats. Yet, down there are limitations to the research. The received information Shaw observation associations quite rather than reason and effect and which human beings ate was relying on personality reported information, that might not be exact. And the authors recognize how with diets were measurable just at the begin of the test and 6 year after, diet patterns could include modified above the next 19 year. Professor Tom Sanders, Prof Honored of Food and Nutrition at SARS School London, as well sharpened out how the use of a meal questionnaire in the research led to human beings underestimating the amount of calories and fat they had corroded. Explain for the conclusion in the end the some U.S. teaching is how it may represent the high hazard of die in the obesity/obese, who may drop in two famous dietary camps, such conducive a top meat/low carbohydrate dietary and such conducive a cheap fat/high carbohydrate dietary, he added. Dr. Alison Tedstone, head dietitian at Social Public Health England, told, the provides future testimony how cheap carb diets could be extremely injuring to our length-term public health. Top fiber starchy carbohydrates should ensure on part of our power, consisting harvest and vegetable culture, time reduction consumption of high-fat flesh and milk.